Have you ever wondered what happens to your soul during the hours when your body is completely defenseless? In a moment, I'll show you the 3 spiritual effects of sleeping with a prayer rope under your pillow. But first, comment, "Pray for me," and let's pray for each other tonight, and subscribe for more Saint Padre Pio messages and night prayers. Think about the moment you turn off the lights tonight. The house goes quiet. The distractions of the world, the phone, the television, the work, the noise, finally fade away. You lie down, you close your eyes, and you drift into that mysterious state we call sleep. We tend to think of sleep merely as a biological reset, a pause button for the physical body, but the great mystics of the Church, and specifically the spiritual insights derived from the life of Saint Padre Pio, suggest something far more profound is taking place in the silence of your bedroom. When your conscious mind shuts down, your spirit does not simply turn off. Your soul remains awake, alive, and in many ways more exposed than it is during the daylight hours. During the day, you have your will, your intellect, and your active prayers to guard you. But at night, the walls of your conscious defenses come down. It is in this vulnerability that the spiritual atmosphere of your room becomes critical. Have you ever woken up feeling heavier than when you went to bed? Have you ever experienced a sudden, inexplicable anxiety in the middle of the night? A feeling that you are not alone, or a sense of dread that has no logical cause? We often dismiss these things as mere bad dreams or the result of a stressful day. And while psychology certainly plays a role, we cannot ignore the spiritual reality that surrounds us. The enemy of human nature, the tempter, is a coward. He prefers to strike when our guard is down, when our will is passive, and when the silence amplifies his whispers. He seeks to disturb the peace of the children of God precisely when they are resting, planting seeds of discouragement that will bloom the moment we wake up. But what if I told you that a simple physical object, a humble string of beads, when combined with a specific disposition of the heart, could change the entire spiritual architecture of your night? We are talking about a practice that many find comforting, yet few understand theologically. It is not about magic. It is not about superstition. It is about the profound reality of Padre Pio Reveals. This happens when you sleep with a prayer rope under your pillow. This is not a promise of a talisman that works like a battery. It is a revelation about how the physical and the spiritual intersect in the mystery of faith. Imagine for a moment that your bed is not just a place of rest, but an altar. Imagine that the very object you hold or place beneath your head acts as a silent signal to the spiritual realm, a declaration of who you belong to. Padre Pio, the friar of the Stigmata, knew better than anyone that the battle for our souls does not pause for a coffee break, and it certainly does not pause for sleep. He called the Rosary his weapon, not as a metaphor, but as a literal reality. If he needed a weapon during the day, why do we assume we are safe without one during the night? There is a reason why you clicked on this video. Perhaps you have been feeling a disturbance in your peace. Perhaps your nights have been restless, filled with shadows rather than light. Or perhaps you simply long for a deeper connection with God that persists even when you are unconscious. Whatever brought you here, know this: nothing happens by accident in the economy of God's grace. You are being invited to understand a secret of spiritual protection that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with love. Stay with me. We are going to peel back the layers of this mystery. We are going to move past the superficial idea of lucky charms and dive into the deep theology of sacramentals, the power of the Blessed Mother's intercession, and how a simple act of faith before sleep can terrify the darkness and invite a legion of angels to your bedside. But be warned, this requires more than just placing an object under a pillow. It requires a change in you. Let us speak honestly about the state of our interior lives today. If we look across our modern society, we see a pandemic that no medicine seems to cure. It is a pandemic of restlessness. Millions of people, perhaps even you, go to bed every night in comfortable beds, in climate-controlled rooms, with every safety feature imaginable, yet they cannot find true rest. We have better mattresses than kings had 500 years ago, yet we have less peace than the poorest peasant who slept on straw with a prayer on his lips. Why is this? We live in an age of noise. But it is not just the acoustic noise of traffic or the digital noise of the internet. It is spiritual noise. Throughout the day, we are bombarded by images, words, and ideas that are often contrary to the gospel. We absorb fear from the news, envy from social media, anger from politics, and despair from the culture around us. We might not realize it, but this accumulation of spiritual debris sticks to us. It clouds the intellect and weighs down the heart. When we finally lie down to sleep, we bring all of this mud into the bedroom with us. Most people treat their bedroom as a secular space, a place where they collapse from exhaustion. They do not realize that the bedroom is the place where they are most spiritually vulnerable. When you sleep, your subconscious mind processes the day. If your day was filled with secular noise and you enter sleep without a proper spiritual cleansing or protection, that noise continues to churn. This is where the enemy finds his opening. He does not need to possess you or manifest in terrifying ways to do his work. He simply needs to disturb your peace. He needs to make you wake up feeling hopeless. He needs to inject a subtle poison of anxiety that makes you dread the morning. This is the invisible problem, the lack of a spiritual boundary around our rest. We lock our front doors to keep out thieves, but we leave the doors of our minds wide open to spiritual prowlers. We set alarms to wake us up, but we set no guards to watch over us while we sleep. In the spiritual theology that Padre Pio lived, the devil is described as a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. A lion hunts the straggler, the isolated one, the one who is unprotected. When we sleep without prayer, without a conscious connection to God, we are, in a sense, wandering alone in the spiritual wilderness of our own subconscious. The impact of this is devastating, though often subtle. It manifests as waking up with a heavy heart, a lack of motivation to pray, a feeling of distance from God, or a persistent irritability that ruins our relationships. We think, "I'm just tired." But often, we are not just physically tired. We are spiritually harassed. The peace of the soul has been compromised because the sanctuary of sleep was left unguarded. We must understand that the battle is real. Padre Pio did not view the spiritual life as a hobby. He viewed it as a combat zone. He knew that the enemy hates nothing more than a soul at peace, and he will do anything to disrupt that peace. If he cannot get you to sin during the day, he will try to disturb you during the night. He wants to rob you of the refreshment that God intends for you. This is not about being paranoid. It is about being prudent. It is about recognizing that we are composed of body and soul, and both need rest. But the soul cannot rest in a vacuum. The soul rests only in God. If we do not actively invite God into our sleep, if we do not place a sign of His presence in our bed, we leave a vacuum. And in the spiritual life, vacuums are dangerous. They tend to be filled by whatever is passing by. Many of you listening right now know exactly what I am describing. You know that feeling of waking up at 3 a.m. with a racing heart. You know the shadows that seem to lengthen in the room. You know the struggle to quiet the mind. You have tried tea. You have tried medication. You have tried white noise machines. But perhaps the problem isn't biological. Perhaps the problem is that your soul is crying out for a shield. It is crying out for a mother. It is crying out for the weapon. To understand the solution, we must look to a man who lived half his life in the visible world and half in the invisible one. Saint Padre Pio of Pietrelcina was not just a friar who said Mass. He was a mystic who read souls, who bore the wounds of Christ, and who engaged in direct, often physical combat with the demonic realm. His authority on these matters does not come from books or theories, but from brutal, lived experience. Padre Pio spent his nights in a way that would terrify most of us. The accounts of his life are filled with testimonies of the sounds of battle coming from his cell. He knew the enemy's tactics intimately. He knew that the devil is a master of illusion, a bully who crumbles before the authority of Christ and the humility of the Virgin Mary. But here is the crucial point. Padre Pio did not fight with his own strength. He knew that Francesco Forgione, his birth name, was weak. He knew that on his own he was no match for a fallen angel. So, what did he do? He clung to the weapon. He famously said, "Bring me my weapon," referring to his rosary. He was rarely seen without it wrapped around his hand or tucked into his habit. For Padre Pio, the rosary was not a piece of jewelry or a mere counting device. It was a chain that bound him to the Virgin Mary. It was a physical lifeline to heaven. He understood that the beads themselves were matter, wood, glass, metal, but the reality they connected him to was omnipotent. Now we must be very careful here. Padre Pio never taught that objects have power in themselves. That is magic, and magic is a sin. He taught that objects blessed and used with faith become vessels of grace. They are like extension cords. The cord has no power, but it connects you to the power source. When Padre Pio held his rosary, he was holding the hand of Mary. And where Mary is, the devil cannot be. This brings us to the practice of keeping the rosary, or a prayer rope, near us while we sleep, specifically under the pillow or clasped in the hand. While there is no record of Padre Pio issuing a universal commandment that everyone must sleep with a rosary under their pillow, his entire spirituality screams the necessity of it. He lived in a state of constant prayer. For him, sleep was not a break from God, it was an offering to God. By keeping the weapon close, he was making a physical statement. Even in my sleep, I am a soldier of Christ. Even in my sleep, I belong to her. But there is a deeper revelation here, one that is often missed. It is not just about protection, it is about sanctification. Padre Pio knew that the rosary acts as a filter. When you keep this sacramental close with the right intention, you are essentially asking the Blessed Mother to stand guard over your imagination and your memory while you sleep. You are asking her to filter the noise of the world and allow only the peace of Christ to enter. This is the secret that many miss. They put the rosary under the pillow like a lucky rabbit's foot and wonder why they still feel anxious. They miss the key ingredient, the interior disposition. The object is the sign, but the heart is the connection. Before we go deeper into what actually happens spiritually when you do this, I want to invite you to make a small act of faith right now. You don't need to type it in the comments. Just say it in the silence of your heart. Lord, I want my rest to be holy. I want my sleep to be a prayer. This simple desire is the key that unlocks the power of the sacramental. Without this desire, the beads are just beads. With this desire, they become a fortress. We are about to explore the specific spiritual effects of this practice. We will look at how it changes the atmosphere of the room, how it affects the night terrors that plague so many, and how it serves as a constant silent prayer of the heart. But remember, the power comes from God, through the intercession of Mary, in response to your faith. Now, let us look closely, through the lens of Padre Pio's spirituality, at what actually occurs when a faithful soul places a rosary or prayer rope under their pillow with a heart full of trust. We can identify specific spiritual shifts that take place. These are not magic tricks. They are the fruits of grace operating in nature. The first revelation, the claiming of territory. The first thing that happens is a reclaiming of your physical space. We must understand that the enemy is territorial. He seeks to occupy spaces where God is forgotten. When you enter your bedroom and ignore God, the atmosphere remains neutral at best or oppressive at worst. But when you deliberately place a blessed object, a sacramental of the Church, under your head, you are planting a flag. You are physically claiming that space for Jesus Christ and the Blessed Virgin. It is a silent declaration that says, this bed is not just for the body, it is a place where a child of God rests. This act repels the ordinary temptations of the enemy. Just as filth cannot remain in a sterilized room, the filth of spiritual harassment finds it difficult to linger in a space that has been explicitly consecrated to the Virgin. The rosary under the pillow acts as a spiritual seal on the bed. The second revelation, the anchoring of the mind. This is perhaps the most practical and immediate effect. The moments before sleep are crucial. This is when the mind races, when worries about bills, health, and family assault us. If you lie there wrestling with your thoughts, you are fighting on the enemy's turf. However, if your hand touches the beads, or if you are conscious of the rosary beneath your pillow, your mind has a physical anchor. It reminds you to shift your focus from the problem to the Savior. It changes your internal monologue from "what will I do?" to "Jesus, I trust in you." Padre Pio taught that anxiety is a failure of trust. The physical presence of the rosary serves as a tactile reminder to let go. It helps you surrender the burden into Mary's hands before you drift off. You are literally laying your head upon a symbol of prayer. The third revelation, the continuation of prayer. There is a beautiful concept in Catholic tradition called the prayer of the heart. It is the idea that our desire to pray counts as prayer, even when we are silent. When you fall asleep, holding the rosary, or with the intention that it represents your desire to be with God, your sleep becomes an act of love. Padre Pio often spoke of the importance of intention. If you say to the Blessed Mother, "Mary, I am going to sleep now, please hold my hand. I place this rosary here as a sign that I want to pray even while I dream." She accepts that offering. Your breath becomes a prayer. Your heartbeat becomes a hymn. You are not just unconscious. You are resting in the arms of God. This is why many people report waking up with a sense of peace or even with the name of Jesus on their lips, rather than waking up in panic. The fourth revelation, the deterrent to malevolence. We must speak of this with sobriety, avoiding all sensationalism. The devil hates the Virgin Mary. He hates her humility, her purity, and her obedience. The rosary is the symbol of her triumph over him through Christ. When a person sleeps with this weapon, trusting in Mary, it creates a barrier of grace. It is not that the plastic or wood burns the demon. It is that the presence of the Queen of Heaven, invoked by the sacramental, makes the enemy flee. He cannot stand the atmosphere of Marian purity. For someone suffering from nightmares, sleep paralysis, or a sense of oppression, this practice, combined with a state of grace and regular confession, is a powerful remedy. It is like turning on a light in a dark room. The shadows have no choice but to recede. The fifth revelation, the gentle correction of conscience. This is the one most people overlook. When you know you are sleeping with the rosary, it subtly changes your behavior before bed. It makes you think twice about what you watch on TV, what you look at on your phone, or what arguments you leave unresolved. You feel a holy embarrassment at the idea of bringing impurity or anger into the bed where the rosary lies. Thus, the object acts as a silent spiritual director. It encourages you to examine your conscience, to say an act of contrition, and to end the day in friendship with God. This purification of the conscience is the true source of peaceful sleep. It is not the beads under the pillow that give you peace. It is the clear conscience that the beads encouraged you to seek. To understand this fully, we must move from theology to reality. I want to share a story with you. It is a story inspired by the countless pastoral encounters that priests and spiritual directors hear. A story that reflects the experience of many who have turned to the spirituality of Padre Pio in their darkest hours. Let us call him Michael. Michael was a good man, a father and a husband, but he was carrying the weight of the world. He worked a high-stress job, worried constantly about his finances, and felt a growing distance from his family. But his real battle began when the sun went down. For months, Michael suffered from a terrible restlessness. He would wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, his heart pounding, his mind flooded with catastrophic thoughts. He felt a dark, oppressive heaviness in the room, a sense that he was being watched, judged, and condemned. He tried everything. He stopped drinking coffee. He took melatonin. He listened to relaxation podcasts. Nothing worked. The darkness seemed to wait for him. He began to dread his own bedroom. He became irritable with his wife and children because he was exhausted. He felt like he was losing his mind, and worse, losing his faith. He felt abandoned by God. One day, Michael's wife, who had a deep devotion to Padre Pio, came home from a pilgrimage. She brought him a simple brown wooden rosary. She didn't tell him it was magic. She didn't promise him a miracle cure. She simply said, "Michael, I know you are suffering." Padre Pio called this his weapon. "Just try something for me. Go to confession, clear your soul, and then tonight, before you sleep, pray 1 decade, just one. And then put this under your pillow. Tell Our Lady you are too tired to fight and ask her to fight for you." Michael was skeptical. He was a practical man, but he was also desperate. That Saturday, he went to confession for the first time in years. He poured out his anger, his fear, his lack of trust. That night, he sat on the edge of his bed. He held the wooden beads. He felt foolish at first, but then he prayed. He didn't pray a perfect prayer. He just whispered, "Mother, I can't sleep. Help me." He placed the rosary under his pillow. He laid his head down, expecting the usual racing thoughts. But something was different. He felt a physical sensation of grounding, as if a heavy hand were resting gently on his shoulder. The room didn't feel empty and cold. It felt occupied, but in a warm, protective way. For the first time in 6 months, Michael slept through the night. He didn't wake up to a choir of angels. He didn't see a vision. He simply woke up, rested. The heaviness was gone. The oppressive anxiety that usually greeted him in the morning was replaced by a quiet stillness. Over the next few weeks, the change in Michael was undeniable. The problems at work were still there. The bills were still there. But he was different. He had a refuge. The night was no longer a time of battle. It was a time of restoration. He told his wife later, "It feels like when I put my head on the pillow, I'm putting my head in her lap." This is not a fairy tale. This is the reality of grace. The rosary didn't drug Michael into sleep. It opened a door for the peace of Christ to enter a room that had been shut tight with fear. It allowed him to surrender control. And in that surrender, the enemy lost his grip. We must be very clear as we conclude this reflection. The rosary under the pillow is not a lucky charm. If you live a life of deliberate sin, if you hate your neighbor, if you refuse to forgive, and if you treat the rosary merely as a superstitious insurance policy, it will remain just a string of beads. God looks at the heart, not just the furniture arrangements. However, if you are striving for holiness, if you are fighting your battles and sometimes feeling weak, this practice is a powerful aid given to us by the tradition of the Church and championed by the example of saints like Padre Pio. It is a way of saying, "Lord, I am yours, day and night." We live in a world that is desperate to steal your peace. The enemy wants you exhausted, anxious, and fearful because a fearful soul is easy to manipulate. But God wants you rested. He wants you to have the peace that surpasses all understanding. He has given us a mother who never sleeps and who watches over the cradles of her children, no matter how old those children are. So here is my invitation to you tonight. Do not let this just be another video you watched. Make it an action. If you have a rosary, find it. If it is dusty, clean it. If it is broken, fix it or get a new one. Tonight, before you turn off the light, take a moment. Hold it in your hands. Acknowledge that you are in a spiritual battle, but also acknowledge that the victory has already been won by Christ. Pray. It doesn't have to be long. Just invite the Virgin Mary into your room. Ask her to spread her mantle over your bed. Then place that rosary under your pillow or keep it in your hand. Let your last thought be one of trust. Let your body rest on the sign of your salvation. You may find, like so many others, that the shadows flee. You may find that the heaviness lifts. You may find that you wake up with a new strength to face the day. Padre Pio often said, "Pray, hope, and don't worry." Notice the order. Prayer comes first. Hope follows. And only then does worry disappear. Let your sleep be a time of prayer and hope. I want to ask you to do one thing in the comments below. It is not for the algorithm. It is for you. It is a declaration of intent. Write simply, "Jesus, I trust my rest to you." Or, "Mother, protect my sleep." Make that small act of commitment. May the peace of Christ, which banished the demons from Padre Pio's cell and which calms the storms of the sea, descend upon your bedroom tonight. Sleep well, knowing you are not alone. You are guarded, you are loved, and you are armed with the grace of God. God bless you.